sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. This is MacDonald Carey, and these are the days of our lives.
Greetings, Doom fans, and welcome to another edition of the Frostbite Falls Daily Rant, here on the Doomstead Diner. I decided to do episode 3 of Days of Our Doom Lives as an audio rant, rather than another plodding text discourse on the failures in our current healthcare and legal systems. Mainly, this is because there is tons of shit to write on in Collapse right now, which is treated better with text and graphics, and my personal doom story doesn't need a whole lot of that shit. I'm doing just one text blog a week and one audio rant a week now, in an effort not to burn myself out on laptop time. So I have to pick and choose and do some rationing here. For those of you who have not been following this clusterfuck, a brief recap. About a year ago, I took a fall on the job and injured my neck. The symptoms from it started cropping up inside a week or two. At first, just dull pain, and I wasn't sure where it came from. I thought maybe I just slept wrong, or I was spending too much time in front of the laptop with bad posture. In a few more weeks, this escalated to extreme pain. To the point, every day, even at work, I had to lie down with a heat pad on my neck to try and relieve it some. Eventually, that pain subsided, but then I got a new problem. My right arm became paralyzed. Not 100% paralysis, but enough to make the arm almost useless for many tasks, like shaving or wiping my ass, for instance. Fortunately, I am left-handed, so I can still write with a pen, sort of, but that isn't too good either. My keyboarding on the computer is a good deal slower these days than it used to be, too. But at least I can still do that right now. So, at this point, I know I need to find out what is wrong, except for one small problem. No medical insurance at this time. I also don't want to go down the workman's comp path at this time, because first off, I hope it will get better, and second, I don't want to leave my job either. So I wait it out and finally get some insurance in January of 2015 and head in for the very expensive testing necessary to get diagnosis of this problem. Just to get fully diagnosed here costs somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000. Between the MRI, CT scan, x-rays, visits to a variety of doctors, my primary care physician, a neurodiagnostician, and the surgeon who is supposed to carve up my neck and try to stabilize the problem. Those preliminary visits are not done with yet either, because prior to going in for surgery, you have to have visits with the same pros from Dover in the last month before the surgery. And I will tell you from experience, these visits are a complete waste of time. All the information they need is in the imaging that was done already. About the only thing important is to do a final blood workup before the surgery to make sure there isn't something in there that will make anesthesia a problem. Anyhow, the whole biz led up to my leaving my working life about 5 months ago now, trying to get unemployment insurance, getting a workman's compensation case going, and applying for Social Security disability insurance, since nobody is going to hire a one-armed guy who has trouble walking, bowel problems, and tinnitus, that's ringing in the ears, for the type of work that I do. Have I been able to get any sort of assistance from any of these agencies? Nope. As of yet, zero, zilch, nada. I am fortunate I am a doomer, and have my own savings and preps. Otherwise, I would have been homeless and dying as a cripple on the streets of Palmer, Alaska 3 months ago. I still may go out that way. Definitely. Do not count on the government to help you through a crisis, even if in the end you can win your case. By the time you win, you're dead. The intervening months have been a nightmare of trying to negotiate the medical industry, the doctors, the legal system, and the government bureaucracy. I have received all sorts of interesting advice here on the diner on how to approach this, and I have my own thoughts on it as well. But the only advice I really can follow is that of my lawyer, because I made the promise when he took the case on spec that I would follow his advice. He has 40 years experience trying this type of case. He doesn't take cases he doesn't think he can win, and he tells me what I need to do. I am obligated to do that, and I live up to my word, always. This is not to say I myself have not spent many hours in due diligence trying to find out all the costs, how they are paid, who will pay them, etc. It is close to impossible to do this, if not entirely impossible. Maybe you could do it if you had a few years of time available to make phone calls, negotiate automated phone trees, and pass snail mails back and forth, but I don't have time for that. My lawyer tells me I need to have my neck carved up by the pros from Dover as soon as possible. So, in spite of the fact I cannot get all these charges nailed down and how the coverage will be paid out, I did as I was told, and I signed up for the operation to be performed by the Alaska pros from Dover who specialize in this type of operation. My date for the operation? August 28th, 2015, 3 days before my 58th birthday. 2 to 3 days recovery time if I live through the operation. So with luck, I walk out of the hospital on August 31st, just as I left the hospital carried in the arms of my mother 58 years earlier. I really do not expect to make it these days. But it doesn't matter to me, because I got everything tied up now, and everybody dies sooner or later. I already lasted a lot longer than I should have. In a certain sense, it is worse if I live through this thing, because then I got a whole lot of new shit I will have to negotiate, like trying to figure out how I will live afterwards, because I highly doubt I am employable anymore, even if there is some improvement over my current issues, and it seems unlikely there will be. It was a lot simpler back in the old days. When you got a real bad problem, you just died. Today, you have all these real cool means to keep you ticking. But shit, they cost a lot of money. Is it really worth it to keep me ticking a few more years? Well, to me it sort of is, at least if those last few years are not lived as a homeless person on the streets of Palmer, Alaska. But for society in general, I can't see what the fuck the value is in this. I personally would like to witness more of this civilization collapse spin down and write about it. But it sure will make a very little to no difference in how it plays out. I spent the last 8 years or so writing about this shit. All I do now is chronicle the latest manifestations of the clusterfuck. I had it pretty well figured by 2009. The diner is the digest of all that. And it's up on the web now, for as long as the web is up and running, on the diner legacy space. I still have a couple of more hoops to jump through before a D-Day on August 28th. I have to go in again for a stupid pre-op with the pro from Dover on August 11th, where I will be pretty surprised if I even get to see him personally. Just more chats with the nurses, the physician's assistant, and billing folks. Then I have a pre-op with the internist on August 24th, which actually does have some meaning. He will take the last blood test before the operation. Of course, though, the charges for that visit will also be outrageous. I had to schedule that visit within 1 week of the actual surgery. Otherwise, they would have had to do the tests all over again by the rules here. My own predilection was to wait this out, see how the workman's case turned out before signing up for the operation, even though there is substantial risk in that. The longer you wait on something like this, the more probable you get additional problems and damage. However, which is worse, dying as a quadriplegic or dying freezing to death as a homeless person? At least as a quadriplegic, you don't feel any pain on the way to the great beyond. My lawyer doesn't see it that way, though, and apparently neither does the system he is negotiating for me and doing said navigation. I have to follow his advice in this, so under the knife I go on August 28th. I got 1 more month here of blogging to do, and I intend on making the most out of it. If I get a new lease on life and get off the table in somewhat better shape than I am now and can keep on blogging after that, that will be another bonus. I've been on bonus time for years, if not decades now. I should have been dead many times over already. I guess there may be some purpose in the grand scheme of things for me to stay alive a bit longer, and I will try to do that and value it if I get it. But if not, it was a wonderful run through the age of oil, and I got to see and experience plenty. I sewed up my legacy, and I am ready for my meeting with the Grim Reaper. I will cross the divide, satisfied with my life and how I lived it. And that's all the doom this time until next time, here on the Doomstead Diner.